Well, hello, welcome again to a read through of 2 Corinthians, and I got up to chapter 4. As I've mentioned before, a lot of the phrases and sentences in this work in particular, and perhaps Paul in general, are very often very hard to understand, and much has been written on them, so you need to be consulting commentaries. I'm just going to translate as best I can as we go through. So he begins, dia tuto ekontes tein diakonia tauten kathos eli ethemin, uk ing kakumen, alla ape parmatha takrupta tes aiskunes, me peripatuntes en panorgia, me didoluntes ton logon tu theou alla te phanerose, tes aletheas sun istanon tes hiatus prospasan sun edesin anthropon enopion tu theou. It's a fairly long first sentence. So, dia tuto, for this reason, on account of this, ekontes, having this diakonia, and having this ministry, this service. Kathos, now this is a passive from eleo. Normally eleo is to show mercy. Doesn't normally go into the passive, but it's here, we have had mercy shown to us. So just as we have been shown mercy. Uk eng kakumen. Now, enkakio is a word, it's rare in the New Testament, it's only in Paul, it's not in the Septuagint. Kakos can, you probably know, is bad, but it can have the sense of cowardly as well. Kakia is often used in classical Greek of cowardice. And so the word came to mean to be weary or to lose heart, to sort of almost give up. It's to have cowardice within, and hence to lose heart. So we are not losing heart, but apaparmatha, this is from apolego, it's an aorist middle. Apolego means to refuse something. So we have denied, or we have renounced, we have refused, perhaps renounced is good here. So, but we have renounced takrupta, the hidden things of shame. Now, the exact meaning of this, again, is much has been written on it. It's disputed. You need to consult commentaries. It could mean perhaps which result in shame, or because we are ashamed. So, we have renounced the secret things. Well, perhaps from shame, literally the hidden things of shame. Not peripatuntes, it's a peripatio in the sense of literally to walk, but hence to conduct yourself. Not conducting ourselves with panorgia, with wickedness, nor doluntes, from doloo is to make false. So here the verb means to falsify. So nor falsifying tologon to theou, the word of God, but by the phanerose, by the manifestation of the truth, the making phaneros, the making visible, but by the manifestation of the truth, sun histanontes, this is a participle form from that regularizing sun histano, from sun histami. It has the sense of commending ourselves. So commending ourselves to literally each conscience of men. So to, we would say, to all the consciences of men. The Greek says to each conscience of mankind, enopion, before God. Enopion, one of these pseudo prepositions, which does occur in, it is good Greek, but it also happens to be fairly Semitic as well, so in the face of. So before God. Eidekai estin kekalumenon ton tot euangelion hemon entois apolumenois estin kekalumenon, en hois hotheos, to ionos tutu, et tuflosin ta noemata ton apiston es tome algasai, ton photismon, tu euangeliou tes doxes tu Christu. Hos est in acon to theou. So, but if also, or perhaps almost since also, our gospel is kekalumenon from kalupto, so we get a periphrastic perfect passive here. So since our gospel, or if our gospel is hidden, it is hidden among those who are perishing, among whom, en hois, hotheos to the God of this age, ionos, tuflosin from tufloo, has blinded the thoughts of those who do not believe. Ace to plus infinitive for purpose, with the result that they do not algasai, they do not see here. Algasdo, it's only here in the New Testament, it's very rare in the Septuagint. It's a classical word meaning, originally has the sense of dawning, it's sort of light coming in. Well, we just translate it here as see, but it does have that sort of stronger meaning to dawn upon them. So that the photismon, this is the illumination of the gospel of the glory of Christ, they do not see. Literally, they do not, it doesn't dawn upon them, to put it into modern English. Christu, who is the icon of God, who is the image of God. Again, much ink has been spilt explaining this particular phrase here, and it must have caused some confusion in the early centuries of Christianity when they're trying to work out the nature of Christ. And here Paul describes him as the icon, the image of God. Echo means to resemble, the verb, here it's a noun, but the verb corresponding means to resemble, who is the resemblance of God. Uga hiautus kerusomen ala Iesun Christon kurion, heautus dedulus hemon, dia Iesun. For we do not proclaim hiautus ourselves, but, understand, we proclaim Jesus Christ as kurion, as Lord. And you've got to understand we proclaim again, and we proclaim ourselves as your slaves, your servants, through Jesus. Hoti hotheos hoepon ek scotus phos lampse, hos elampsen entais cardiais, hemon pros photismon, tes gnosios tes doxes tu theou, en prosopo Jesu Christu. Because God is the one who said, from darkness, now this is a genitive from the third declension neuter noun skotos, so from darkness light will shine, future from lampo, who shone in our hearts with regard to the illumination of the knowledge of the glory of God in the face of, in brackets, Jesus Christ. Again, fairly complicated sentence here. So it's it's shone in our hearts, resulting in perhaps to pros for the illumination of the knowledge of the glory of God in the face of Jesus Christ. Again, you'll need to look at commentaries to expand on that. Ekomen de ton thalsaron tuton en ostrakinois skuesin. Hina he hyperbole tes dynamios he to theou kai me ex hemon. Again, some very interesting theology here. But we have this treasure en ostrakinois. Well, this is an ostrakon was a piece of clay which had been basically thrown away because it was broken off a jar or something. We get the ostraca. Our word ostracism comes from this, of course, because in classical Greek times in 5th century Athens they used these potsherds, these bits of pottery, to write someone's name on that they wanted kicked out of the city. And we get our word ostracism from this, but the original meaning of it, of course, is just clay. So we have this treasure in clay skuesin vessels, hina, in order that he hyperboletes dynamios. Another expression whose exact meaning is somewhat obscure. It means the immensity of power, literally. Others translate it the excess of greatness, so perhaps the exceeding greatness. Now the a here is subjunctive from the verb aimi, to be. So in order that perhaps the exceeding greatness might be, and then we get this genitive probably from God and not from us. Perhaps might belong to God for this genitive, and then I've got an X here, and not from us. En panti thlibomenoi al ou stenokarumenoi, aporumenoi al ouk ex aporumenoi, diokomenoi ala ouk en katalepomenoi, katabalomenoi al ouk apolumenoi. So lots of these passives here. Pantoti ten nekrosin tu Jesu ento somati periferontes, hinakai hetsoe tu Jesu ento somati hemon phanerothe. So in each, so in it's us, I think, being oppressed. From the libo, it's a passive participle here. So in each situation, I think, being oppressed, but not stenokarumenoi, well, it's like our expression to be backed into a corner. It's from stenos. It occurs elsewhere in the New Testament. Stenos is narrow, and the koron is a place. So it's sort of being backed into a narrow place. So here perhaps at the end of our tether, something like that. So in each situation, being oppressed but not at the end of our tether, not being backed into a narrow place. Aporumenoi, being in, this is a good example here where we've got apo, the verb is aporio, then we get ex aporio. The ex has the sense of intensifying it. So it's got the meaning here of being at a loss, but not totally at a loss. Sometimes people translate the second one as slightly different, driven to despair perhaps. But they are the same verb with ex added to. Ex is often used to amplify a verb or emphasize it. So being at a loss, but not totally at a loss. Being persecuted, but not enkatalepomenoi, not deserted. This is from katalepo plus n, so left behind, so forsaken or abandoned. Katabalomenoi, being struck down, but not destroyed. Pantoti, always, periferontes, carrying around in the body the necrosis. Again, a difficult word here. It means the act of putting to death. So So the act of dying, or the putting to death, the death of Jesus, we could say. So always carrying in the body the death of Jesus, in order that also the life of Jesus might be made manifest in our bodies. Well, in our body. And plural here, of course, all the way through. For continually we, those living, paradidomitha, we are handed over to death on account of Jesus, in order that also the life of Jesus might be made manifest in our mortal flesh. From thanatos, mortal, connected with apothenesco, it's that root from thenesco, so in our mortal flesh. So we continually living, we are handed over to death on account of Jesus, in order that also the life of Jesus might be made manifest in our mortal body. So that hosti hothanatos en heimin energetai hereditso en humin. So that death, now this is one of Paul's favourite words in ergio, often translated is at work. It's connected with that erg root of working, so is operating or is at work in us, but or perhaps and the life is operating in us. So that death is operating in us, but life is operating in us. We have to supply the verb again. A contest de to auto pneumates pistios katatogegra menon, epistiusa dio lalesa, kai hemes pistuomen dio kai lalumen, dotes hoti hoegeras ton kurion Iesun, kai hemas sun Iesu agere, kai parastese sun hemin. Having the same spirit of faith, according to that which has been written. So I get a quotation now from the Old Testament. The quotation is from Psalm 116:10. I have believed, wherefore, dia plus hop, I have spoken. And we believe, wherefore also we speak, knowing that the one having raised, aorist participle from agero, the Lord Jesus, also will raise, future here from agero, us with Jesus, and parastase, he will present, understand, us, cause us to stand beside him, sun humin, along with you. Tagapanta di humas hinakai hekaris pleon nasasa diaton pleonon ten eucharistian perisiuse esten doxan to theou. For all things we have to supply something like are done on account of you, in order that the grace, now this next bit is difficult, in order that, so it's two various possible translations here. So in order that the grace, having increased, or having been made to increase, or having increased through, now I'm going to take firstly dia with tone pleonon. So dia plus the genitive means through. Pleonon simply means greater, the greater number, so perhaps of believers. So being increased, or being made to increase through the greater number of believers, then take the verb might abound, or might cause to abound, the thanksgiving to the glory of God. I'll just do that very quickly again. So for all things are done on your account, in order that the grace, having been made to increase through the greater number, it's comparative, of believers might make abound the thanksgiving to the glory of God. Alternatively, you could take the dia with the tain Eucharistian, and then it's dia plus accusative, so because of or on account of. It would then mean all things have been done on because of you, in order that the grace being made to increase on account of the thanksgiving of the greater number of believers might cause, might abound to the glory of God. And there are other ways of taking this as well. You'll need to have a look at the commentaries on this one. It's complicated. I think probably the very first one I gave is probably the more likely. Paul tends not to separate off the dia or the preposition that far. So taking the dia, it would be most natural to take dia with the two words coming up in the genitive. And then we can take this is the Eucharistian as the object of the verb. Final section. Dio uk e en kakumen al e kai ho exo hemon anthropos diaptheratai al ho eso hemon ana kai nuntai hemera kai hemera. Wherefore, this is this verb we had before, en kakio, we do not lose heart, we do not be weary, or lose heart I think is probably the best here for that one. We do not lose heart, but if also now there's another funny expression only here, literally the man outside of us. In other words, but if also the outer, that often says our outer man is perishing, but the inner man, or the inner man of us, our inner man, anakainutai, is being renewed, is being made new, hemera kai hemera. Funny expression. It's a colloquial. You won't see this found elsewhere in either the New Testament or the Septuagint. The meaning's clear, day by day, we'd say in English. But it has been apparently found on contemporary papyri, so it's just a local contemporary expression in the dative here, so day by day. Toga parautika elefron tes lipsios hemon kath hyperbolen es hyperbolen ionion baros doxes kat ergazdatai hemin. I'll pause it there because we go to a new page. Now the top goes with the elafron. It's just a neuter expression. Elafros is an adjective which means light in the sense of light weight. And the parautica is adverbial, meaning present. It's a classical usage, but it's only here in the New Testament, this word, and it's only a couple of times in the Septuagint. For the present lightness or ease of our tribulation. And another funny expression here, Paul likes this word hyperbolen, literally by the immensity to beyond the immensity. So exceeding and indeed innumerable, and so these are feminine. Hyperbole is a feminine noun, so the immensity, according to the immensity to beyond immensity, so something like exceeding and indeed immeasurable. Katagazdatai works for us an eternal baros, eternal weight, doxes of glory. So the baros is weight, and it's being compared with the elafros, the lightness. So it's something like, for the present lightness of, or the ease of our tribulation, exceeding and indeed immeasurable, works for us an eternal weight of glory. Me skopunton, genitive absolute here, hemon, ta blepomena, ala ta me blepomena, taga blepomena proskyra, tade me blepomena ionia. For us not looking at the things being seen, but the things not being seen. So it's genitive absolute, so something like, since we look at that which is seen, not at that which is seen, but that which is not seen. For that which is being seen, proskyra, is for a time or for a season, hence temporary, but that which is not seen is ionia. The things which are not seen are eternal. And that is the end of chapter 4.